Good evening, everyone. Thank you for those who joined us here in person and for those who are online. Are going to start the presentation at 5:45. We just want to give a few more minutes for those who might be attending in person. So thank you.
Maureen?
You can start.
Good evening. Good evening, and welcome to the joint public information meeting for the Long Key Bridge and 7 Mile Bridge Project Development and Environment, or PD&E studies. The financial project ID number, or FPID number, for the Long Key Bridge project is 448206-1-22-01, and its efficient transportation decision-making number, or ETDM, is 14451. The FPID number for the 7 Mile Bridge is 448207-1-22-01, and ETDM number is 14513. We appreciate your attendance and participation this evening. The time is about 5:46 p.m. My name is Bao-Ying Wang. I am the project manager with the Florida Department of Transportation, District 6, for the Long Key Bridge PD&E. Joining me tonight is Raul Quintela, the project manager for the 7 Mile Bridge PD&E, and representatives from FDOT and the consultant project team. So this meeting is an opportunity to provide you with an overview of the status of the PD&E studies, why the PD&E studies are being paused, and introduce the proposed bridge rehabilitation schedules, followed by a question and answer section. And at this time, Veronica Paredes, the consultant community outreach specialist, and tonight's meeting moderator will review the meeting participation options.
Thank you, Bao-Ying. Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. We are broadcasting live from the Marathon Government Center and have asked participants to join us virtually, in person, and also by calling in or watching through MCTV 76. If you are attending virtually, you can watch the presentation on your computer, your tablet, or your smartphone, but you will not be on camera, and you will stay muted throughout the meeting except for the comment period at the end of the presentation. At that time, you'll have an opportunity to provide any verbal statements or comments. If you dialed in using a regular phone, not a smartphone, you're in listen-only mode, but you can still send us your comments or questions through mail, email, or through the project websites. And for those who are joining us here in person, you can follow along on with the projected presentation. You'll also have the opportunity to provide a verbal statement or comment at the microphone. You may also provide written comments by filling out one of the comment forms or by sending us your comment through mail, email, or through the project websites. All the information that is presented tonight will be available on both websites. For attendees joining us virtually, if you happen to experience any technical issues during this meeting, please type your issue in the comment box or send an email to maureen.balmaseda@hdrinc.com, or you may call 954-235-8407 to report it, and our staff will do their best to assist you. Si necesita traducción durante la reunión, por favor, comuníquese con nosotros. Public notice for this meeting, including information on how to access the meeting platform, was provided in letters to property owners and tenants in the project area, a posting in the Florida Administrative Register, and in emails to people on the project contact list and other notification methods. In addition, advertisements were made in the local Keys weekly newspapers. For the lower, middle, and upper Keys, it was posted on the FDOT District 6 social media platform and shared by partner agencies. The meeting information was also added to both project websites. The Florida Department of Transportation is required to comply with various non-discrimination laws and regulations, including the Title VI Act, the Title VI of Civil Rights Act of 1964. Under Title VI, public participation is solicited without regard to race, color, national origin, age, sex, religion, disability, or family status. Persons wishing to express concerns relative to the department's compliance with Title VI may do so by contacting Mark Class, the Title VI coordinator for the Florida Department of Transportation District 6 at 305-470-5219, through email at mark.plass@dot.state.fl.us, or you can write him at 1000 Northwest 111th Avenue, Miami, Florida 33172. You may also contact Stefan Kulakowski, the Title VI coordinator for the Florida Department of Transportation Equal Opportunity Office at 850-414-4742. You also may email him at stefan.kulakowski@dot.state.fl.us. Or you could also write to him at 605 Swanee Street, Tallahassee, Florida 32399. For more information on Title VI, you could follow the website that is posted on the slide. The environmental review, consultation, and other actions required by applicable federal laws for this project are being or have been carried out by the Florida Department of Transportation pursuant to 23 U.S. Code Section 327 and a memorandum of understanding dated May 26, 2022, and executed by the Florida Highway Administration and FDOT. The FDOT Office of Environmental Management in Tallahassee is the approving authority. At this time, we would like to recognize any state, federal, county, or city officials who are present tonight. Please come to the microphone if you're attending in person. If you're attending virtually, please select the hand raise feature of the control panel or submit your name, title, and affiliation in the comment box, and you will be recognized. Mo, do we have anybody online? No? Okay. So at this time, we'll thank everybody for joining us and participating in tonight's meeting. I'll hand it back to Bao Ying to start tonight's presentation.
Thank you, Veronica. So this meeting agenda slide outlines the information and topics we will cover tonight, including where the project is in the transportation project development process, an overview of the Long Key Bridge and 7 Mile Bridge PD&E studies, the next steps, and key contacts to stay connected regarding this project. We'll conclude the meeting with a question and answer section. At this time, we would like to highlight the FDOT Compass initiative. FDOT is dedicated to maintaining and enhancing the state's infrastructure to meet the needs of both residents and visitors now and in the future. The department focuses on critical areas like communities, safety, resiliency, supply chain, and workforce development to achieve this. FDOT recognizes the unique needs of each community and strives to create a transportation system that improves connectivity, enhance the quality of life, and aligns with a shared community vision. With community as the focus of the FDOT Compass, tonight's meeting reflects FDOT's commitments, keeping you informed of the status of this project. Transportation project like this go through multiple phases, including PD&E design, right-of-way acquisition, construction, and then ongoing maintenance. Right now, we are in the project development and environment, or PD&E phase. During this phase, we take a close look at how the proposed project improvements could impact the community, environment, and surrounding area. This includes things like social, economic, cultural, and environmental resources. All of the resources evaluated and information collected helps FDOT identify the best type of improvements, the location of improvements, and how improvements should be designed to meet the project's purpose and need. This phase also makes sure we are meeting all federal and state environmental laws, including the National Environmental Policy Act, also known as NEPA, especially if federal funding is involved. When a PD&E study is complete, a preferred alternative is approved by FDOT's Office of Environmental Management, and the project moves into the design phase, followed by right-of-way acquisition if needed, and then construction once funding is secured. The purpose and need for both studies is to evaluate the replacement of the bridges to address bridge deficiencies, access roadway capacity and safety needs, evaluate mobility, improve evacuation and emergency response times, and evaluate bicycle and pedestrian needs. And now I will pass it to Beth Bean, the Long Key Bridge Consultant Project Manager, to provide an overview of the Long Key Bridge PD&E study.
Beth, before you begin, we do have Tom Harding, City Commissioner for Key Colony Beach, attending tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Baoyin. So the PD&E study for the Long Key Bridge, bridge number 900094, which carries State Road 5 US 1 over the Long Key Channel, is located within the Florida Keys in unincorporated Monroe County and is surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean to the east and the Gulf of Mexico to the west. Situated in the Middle Keys, halfway between Miami and Key West, the bridge connects Conkey to Long Key. Shown here are the project limits, which extend along US 1 from just south of North Conk Avenue on Conkey, north across Long Key Channel, to north of Pelican Court on Long Key, a distance of approximately 3.2 miles. The Long Key Bridge, also known as the Dante B. Facel Bridge, is part of the 110-mile-long Florida Keys Scenic Highway and All-American Road. It is the second longest bridge within the Florida Keys. It was constructed in 1981 parallel to the Long Key Viaduct, which carried the Overseas Railroad from 1907 to 1935. The Long Key Viaduct discontinued use after the 1935 hurricane and was converted to roadway use. Once the new Long Key Bridge was constructed, the Long Key Viaduct was repurposed as a bike and pedestrian path and fishing pier as part of the Florida Keys Overseas Heritage Trail. This PD&E study does not include any improvements to the Florida Keys Overseas Heritage Trail Bridge, which is owned by the state of Florida and maintained by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, Division of State Parks. The existing Long Key Bridge is approximately 2.3 miles long, with a vertical clearance of 25.5 feet and horizontal clearance of 111 feet between bridge piers. Within the project limits, the bridge and approaches consist of 2 lanes with 6-foot shoulders and no bicycle or pedestrian facilities. The roadway north and south of the bridge also has 2 lanes with 4 to 5-foot shoulders that are designated as bicycle lanes. The Long Key Bridge PD&E study is currently paused. Prior to the pause, the project team collected data and reviewed existing conditions. These efforts included engineering and environmental analyses, focused on safety, structural needs, environmental impacts, and community connectivity. Potential bridge replacement alternatives were developed and evaluated and presented to the public, followed by selection of a preferred alternative. Public involvement activities were initiated to gather feedback and better understand community priorities, including a public kickoff meeting, and then that was followed by an alternatives public meeting. Although the PD&E study has been paused, all input and work completed to date will help inform future decisions. At this time, a date has not been set for when the PD&E study will resume. We will provide an update on the next steps later in this presentation. So the Long Key Bridge PD&E study, as I mentioned, involved detailed engineering and environmental analyses. Shown on this slide is an overview of completed activities and paused activities. From an engineering standpoint, the team reviewed the condition of the existing bridge, evaluated design criteria, and develop bridge replacement alternatives that improve safety, maintain traffic flow, and enhanced resiliency. Results of the analyses are being documented in individual technical memorandums or reports and will be summarized in the preliminary engineering report. Environmental analyses focused on identifying potential impacts to natural, physical, cultural, and social resources, such as marine habitats, wetlands, historic sites, and nearby communities. These findings help guide the development of alternatives that minimized impacts while meeting the purpose and need of the project. Results of these analyses are also being documented in individual technical memorandums or reports. Key activities currently paused include preparation of final documentation, which includes the preliminary engineering report and the environmental assessment. This documentation is made available later during the PD&E study process and prior to the public hearing, which at this time has also been paused. Public involvement was vital during the Long Key Bridge PD&E study. It helped ensure community input was considered throughout the project. Outreach included coordination with local stakeholders, as well as multiple federal, state, and local agencies. Distribution of project information and opportunities for the public to share input on concerns and priorities at key points during the study. Again, this feedback helped guide the development of the alternatives. The remaining outreach activities for the PD&E study have been put on hold. However, outreach will continue during the next steps to keep the community informed and engaged as work progresses. So as part of the PD&E study, we looked at several alternatives. These alternatives were shaped using the feedback that we gathered and the information from the engineering and environmental studies, as well as agency input. Following the alternatives public meeting and review of comments that we did receive, Alternative 2, or the east alignment to the Atlantic Ocean side, and Alternative 3, the west alignment to the Gulf of Mexico side, were further refined, and Alternative 3 was selected as the preferred alternative, which is shown here on this slide. And now I will pass it to Sylvia Beltry, the 7 Mile Bridge Consultant Project Manager, to provide an overview of the 7 Mile Bridge PD&E study.
Thank you, Beth. Good afternoon, everyone. 7 Mile Bridge, which carries State Road 5, US 1 Overseas Highway over the Mosier Channel, is located in the Middle Keys, surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean to the south and the Gulf of Mexico to the north. The project study area extends from Little Duck Key, just south of mile marker 40, to Knights Key, just north of mile marker 47, approximately 7.5 miles in Monroe County, and within the city of Marathon for the eastern limit of the project. 7 Mile Bridge serves as a lifeline for the Florida Keys community and all those who rely on the bridge for mobility. Represents the Florida Keys history, engineering innovation, and unique island lifestyle. Also serves as a focal point for all who live, commute, travel, and visit the region's stunning natural beauty, recreational activities, and cultural resources. Also serves as a vital transportation artery and evacuation route, connecting the lower Keys with the Middle Keys and Upper Keys and the mainland of Florida. The 7 Mile Bridge is an iconic symbol of the Florida Keys and the state of Florida and part of the 110-mile Florida Keys Scenic Highway. This section of State Road 5 US 1 Overseas Highway is also included in the Federal Highway Administration's America's Byways programs as an all-American road, connecting the Florida Keys to the mainland of Florida. The 7 Mile Bridge was constructed in 1982 and at that time represented the longest concrete box girder bridge, also known as a segmental bridge, in the US. It was built adjacent to the old 7 Mile Bridge, which carried the Overseas Railroad until 1935. Portions of the old 7 Mile Bridge were later repurposed as a bike path and fishing pier as part of the Florida Keys Overseas Heritage Trail, which is maintained by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection Division of State Parks. Florida Keys Heritage Trail is not continuous. This PD&E study does not include any improvements to the Florida Keys Overseas Heritage Trail Bridge. The 7 Mile Bridge itself is approximately 7 miles long with a vertical clearance over the Mosier Channel of 65 feet and a horizontal clearance of 90 feet. There are 236 low-level piers and 29 high-level piers. Along the bridge, there are two 12-foot travel lanes and 6-foot shoulders on both sides. There are no sidewalks along the existing bridge. The roadway north and south of the bridge also has two 12-foot travel lanes with shoulders varying in width, generally marked as bicycle lanes on the northern approach. A bridge rehabilitation project is scheduled to begin in December of this year, December 2025. The 7 Mile Bridge PD&E study is currently paused. Prior to the pause, the project team collected data, reviewed existing conditions, and conducted a preliminary step 1 typical section and alignment analysis. Public involvement activities were also initiated to gather feedback and better understand community priorities. Although the study is on hold, all input and work completed to date will help inform future decisions. At this time, a date has not been set for when the PD&E study will resume. We will provide an update on the next steps later in this presentation. Some initial engineering and environmental activities have been completed, including data collection, preliminary concepts, and qualitative environmental surveys. With the PD&E study currently paused, the detailed engineering and environmental impact analysis of bridge replacement alternatives and required documentation for approvals is on hold. All completed work will be used to support future progress once the study resumes. Our team began early public involvement efforts to get the community engaged right from the start. This included coordination with local agencies, stakeholders, and community leaders to understand key concerns and priorities. We also worked on outreach materials and planning efforts to support a very successful kickoff meeting and held the project's first environmental forum and project advisory group meeting. The goal was to create a strong foundation for ongoing communication and transparency throughout the study. While the project is currently on hold, the input we received early on remains valuable and will help guide the study when it resumes. Now, Raul.
Thank you, Sylvia. Good afternoon, everybody. Now that we have shared the current status of the PD&E studies, let's take a look at what's next. We'll walk you through upcoming steps, explain how we'll keep you informed, and share how we can stay connected as the process moves forward, even while the PD&E studies are paused. During the PD&E studies, economic evaluations were performed, which showed an additional bridge rehabilitation cycle would extend the service life of each bridge. Based on these results, the bridge rehabilitation phase has been introduced to the transportation process delivery process. For the Long Key Bridge, rehabilitation design is expected to begin in 2028, with construction starting in 2030. For the 7 Mile Bridge, rehabilitation design is expected to begin in 2029, with construction starting in 2032. These improvements will help extend the service life of the bridges, improve safety, and maintain vital connectivity in the Keys until the PD&E study resumes. We will continue to keep the public informed throughout the rehabilitation process. Both the Long Key and 7 Mile bridges have been repaired and retrofitted since their original construction. A repair project for Long Key Bridge that began in February 2023 has been completed. It is important to note that the upcoming 7 Mile Bridge Rehabilitation Project, scheduled to begin in December 2025, is anticipated to be complete by October 2026. This project is not part of the future rehabilitation project for 7 Mile Bridge. How did we get here? In 2021, the district completed bridge replacement reports for both Long Key and 7 Mile Bridge. These reports included a life cycle cost analysis. A life cycle cost analysis is an engineering economic tool used by FDOT in bridge repair or replacement decision making, which is used to analyze the cost of owning and operating a bridge, including initial costs, maintenance, rehabilitation, and replacement. The life cycle cost analysis resulted in the recommendation to replace the bridges rather than rehabilitate them, and noted that a new bridge could be designed to minimize corrosion and maintenance costs. Furthermore, a new bridge would will be designed to meet the FDOT 75-year bridge service life requirement. In 2022, the PD&E study for Long Key Bridge began, and the PD&E study for 7 Mile Bridge began in 2023. As part of the PD&E studies, updated construction cost estimates are completed. These results are, and the updated estimate for both Long Key and 7 Mile Bridge indicated significant cost increases that exceeded available funding. In 2025, FDOT performed an economic analysis for each bridge, which determined that an additional rehabilitation cycle would extend the service life of each bridge. In March of 2025, FDOT made a decision to pause the PD&E studies and move forward with the rehabilitation projects. As shown on this slide, we're at the joint information meeting for Long Key and 7 Mile Bridge PD&E studies. Once a rehabilitation project delivery phase begins, it will include refining the scope and updating the cost estimate. The scope of work includes superstructure, and which is the top of the bridge, and the substructure is the foundation of the bridge. As part of this scope, the general items that will be included will be deck overlay, tendon replacement, B-pier replacement, and cathodic protections. In addition, the rehabilitation project will include the design, which is anticipated to start in 2028 for Long Key and 2029 for 7 Mile Bridge. It will also include the construction of both projects, anticipated to start in 2030 for Long Key and 2032 for 7 Mile Bridge. Following the bridge rehabilitation, future steps include resuming the PD&E studies for bridge replacement, design, and construction based on bridge useful life and funding availability. We encourage you to stay informed. You can also visit the project website anytime for updates, contact information, and additional resources. We'll keep you the sites current for the PD&E studies. Veronica?
Thank you, Raul. So this concludes our presentation. We'll now offer the opportunity for you to provide your questions or comments. Virtual written comments and questions will be addressed first, followed by the opportunity for virtual and in-person attendees to make a verbal comment. Our staff will be available to answer any questions in the order they are received. So if you're attending virtually, please type your comment or question in the question box on the GoToWebinar control panel. If you prefer to speak, use the raise hand button located on the upper left corner of the control panel to let us know. When the microphone button is green, you are muted and ready to speak. Dial-in attendees using a smartphone can raise their hand in the app during the comment period. Dial-in attendees not using a smartphone may provide comments after the meeting in writing through the project websites, through mail or email to the project managers. For those attending in person, please line up at the microphone to provide your comments or questions after we address the virtual attendees' questions and comments. So Mo, do we have any virtual attendees?
Yes, so
Okay.
we do have a question that came in through the question pane asking, when will we know if there will be any right-of-way acquisition needed, if any?
Currently, the PD&E, the bridge replacement projects are paused. So we wouldn't know, since we don't have preferred alternatives for any of the PD&E, we wouldn't know at this time if right-of-way acquisition, or if we need right-of-way acquisition, which properties will be affected.
So we have another question asking if there's a bridge replacement, will safe areas for pedestrians and bicyclists be included?
As part of both PD&E studies, we were looking at pedestrians and bicyclists options for both bridges. So when we resume the PD&Es, we will continue looking at those both bridges being able to be utilized for multiple users, bicyclists and pedestrians.
Okay, Someone is asking, will there be an RFP for the rehabilitation design, and what is the estimated date?
So the question is for request for proposal on the rehabilitation. Yes, there will be an advertisement to request proposals from consultants to do the design on the rehabilitation projects that will be programmed. So that will be once we have schedule, then that will be advertised on the FDOT websites.
Okay. Someone is asking, why are the bridge replacement projects paused?
As part of the PD&E process, the department conducted economic analysis, which resulted in the addition of new bridge rehab cycles for both bridges. So basically, the cost of the bridge compared with the cost of rehabilitation indicates that a rehabilitation project would extend the service life of both bridges, and funding is available for those two rehabilitation projects.
Okay. There's another question of when do you estimate having additional information regarding any right-of-way acquisition in the future?
We currently don't know when we're going to resume the PD&Es, but that information would be available once we resume the PD&Es.
Another question, how will traffic be handled when the 7 Mile Bridge is replaced?
We will evaluate traffic once we resume the PD&E. We were in the process of evaluating it now, but we paused the PD&E. So once we come back and restart the PD&E, we will reevaluate the traffic.
Okay. Who is the contractor handling the construction and engineering aspect of the project? I'm assuming the rehabilitation project.
Is it the one in December of 2025 that's coming up, or is it the future ones?
I'd say address both. They just asked who's handling the construction of the project.
They're asking for both.
Yep.
Both.
So the future project is under design right now. So it'll be in construction next year. So it will be out for bid for a contractor. So we don't have one now. And then the two future rehabilitations, the one for Long Key and the one for 7 Mile, those will be also advertised for bidding in the future for contractors. So we also don't have contractors at this time.
There is a question asking that should a community lose property because of a project, would that community be compensated for the loss of HOA fees?
As part of the right-of-way acquisition process for FDOT, we compensate affected properties based on the value of the property.
Okay. Is an entire new bridge being built for 7 Mile? Would it be next to it?
So when the PD&E study resumes in the future, it would consider a replacement option, and it would be evaluated on either side of the existing bridge, because you need to maintain traffic on the existing while you construct the new one.
For additional information, who do we contact at District 6?
I'll change right now. I'll show you.
We'll go back to that slide so you can see the contact information. You can also go to the website for each project. and submit comments through there. And there's information for the contacts as well on the websites.
Someone asked if we can email the presentation to them.
Presentation will be posted on the website following the public meeting and should be accessible there. If they want it emailed, they can send an email to either of the FDOT project managers as well. It is a large file, so suggest trying to go through the website first and see if that works.
Okay, those are
Okay.
all the questions we have
Those are all the
virtually for now.
questions. Okay, so if anybody who's, oh,
Sorry, one
right
just
ahead.
came in.
Yeah, we just got one in.
They have asked if the email or the posting of the presentation, if it will also include the Q&A responses.
Yeah, so the entire meeting is being recorded and it will be posted on the websites and on the Monroe County MCTV as well.
And that is all.
Okay, Mo, is there anybody who would like to make a verbal comment online?
No, we do not.
Okay,
Have
thank you.
anyone.
So now I ask anybody in person who would like to make a verbal comment to please come up to the microphone. No? Okay. Oh. Nope. Okay, take your time.
Good evening, Gerald Ward. I am a consulting engineer, practiced in the eminent domain field since 1976. So I couldn't get out of having people moved here a decade and a half ago, and people still want me to represent them, even now that we have very few cases in Monroe County. We have one of two clients here today at the very northeast end of Long Key Bridge. They are the adjacent first two private parcels, which did not get notice of this meeting, yet they participated in the last two meetings for Long Key. So there's something flawed in your notification system to affected parties. I understand the reporting, the recording of the meeting and reporting would be available to us, but I would like to have any summary that either the consultants or the DOT employees produce of the meeting to your management pursuant to public records when available. The Long Key Bridge have several questions and comments and requests. The no dates is extremely nebulous. You're not even saying it's going to be a year, it's going to be 5 years. We have a 5-year plan, and you have, in my mind, taken a positive attitude to pause the complete reconstruction of the Long Key Bridge by rehabilitation of the existing structure. You haven't indicated where the economic reports, but they should have been produced for this meeting because they're the basis for the pausation of certainly the Long Key Bridge and apparently also the 7 Mile Bridge. I think you need to take a look at the multiple aspects of traffic operations. That's signing, marking, driveway impediments. One of the groups that's here tonight is the Coral Key Village at the very western end, southwestern end, ocean end of Long Key Bridge, there are 45 mailboxes that I counted in there last Saturday or last Saturday. So there are tremendous numbers of people in the very first driveway, and a commercial operation and a substantial channel off Hawk Channel back to a commercial fishing operation. So there are many persons financially affected by what's going on. And it seems to me you can come up with a date. We're not going to do any of the PD&E. It sounds to me like it's over 5 years. Now, that brings to the point that this, as you clearly noticed in your presentation, is closely tied to NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969. I've probably done over 100 assessments and impact statements of that law, which is most effective for the feds. One of the options in there is no project. It seems to me that it might be more economic and we'd save some money to terminate the PD&Es for both projects. If you are truly looking at 5 years, then I don't see that there is a benefit to continue accomplishing that in the remaining part of the 5-year plan. But I'm most important to indicate that each of the ends of the bridge have traffic operation concerns so that people can get to and from their existing businesses, their tourist operations, and the commercial, the 45 units, for instance, need to have consideration when you throw a third bridge in. And lastly, I would say that there needs to be consideration in the future that a new bridge does not destroy the existing bridge. In the case of the 7 Mile Bridge, you could clearly take the existing bridge and make it part of the trail. It already has the crossing of Moser Channel. It doesn't provide a navigation impact. Yes, Pigeon Key Bridge, we just spent some 83 or 80 some million dollars to get out to Pigeon Key with a new structure. That's very important. That says over 100-year-old structure can be fixed. And I will be very interested in my records request to get the preliminary engineering report to determine what's going on that caused the economic revisions for the 2 projects. This is for Long Key that I'm most interested in. And then lastly, just driving up here, maintenance. One of you made the point, maintenance is part of the equation of PD&E. Has anybody just talked about cleaning up 7 Mile Bridge, the shoulder, the breakdown lanes are just full of sediment, trash, and therefore that's a great example that they're a water quality pollution source. Look how much, and each of you ought to drive tomorrow down towards Key West across the bridge before you leave. It's important for you to understand that these bridges are pollution sources. And in the new projects, we definitely have new water quality regulations by the Department of Environmental Protection, and they need to be clearly implemented, not use the 2-year exemption that you have from last June. So I would hope that we do a lot of different things, but giving you some new ideas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay. If anybody else in person would like to provide a verbal comment, please come up to the microphone, as well as anybody who is joining us virtually. If you have any additional comments or questions, please use the raise hand feature or submit your question online. Mo, do we have anybody online who would like to make a verbal comment or submit a question?
Nope, no hands raised so far.
Okay. Okay. So on behalf of the, oh, come right up ahead, Mr. Pesh.
My concern, once again, is when the bridge construction is starting to take place, how it's going to affect my property, access to my property, because it is rental income, and I rely on that rental income to live. So I just want to address it again, that we need to figure out how to make it feasible for access to my property, and also where all the construction material, machinery is all going to be kept. So emphasize that again. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
comment. Thank you.
Thank you. The meeting is going to be held up until 7 o'clock. So if you have any additional comments or questions, feel free to come up to the microphone, as well as those who are attending online will be on until 7 p.m. So if you have any additional comments or questions, please provide those as well.
We do have a new question, and that is, will alternative project delivery methods be considered for the 2 future rehabilitation projects?
We haven't considered that at this time. We haven't alternative. Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Will alternative project delivery methods be considered for the 2 future rehabilitation projects?
My understanding to that is when you can complete the project in stages. At this point, we haven't considered that option. The plan is to do a full project design, bid, build. We still have time to evaluate, our plan. So at this point, we haven't considered the alternative methods.
Okay, Raul, can you repeat your answer on the HOA fees loss, please? That person was asking that if some of their property should be taken away, if that community would be compensated for the loss of HOA fees.
As part of the FDOT right-of-way acquisition process, every time we impact a parcel and we need to purchase a parcel, a property, or a portion of a property, proper compensation is provided based on market value.
We can also, if that person has questions about the right-of-way process, if they send the DOT PMs an email, we can connect them with the right-of-way expert at DOT to get into the details of how that works.
When we for sure there will be any specific right-of-way impact to a specific property, DOT will have a right-of-way acquisition agent to coordinate with the property owner directly in regard to any of the compensation or losses. But since the project is being paused at this time, there is actually no right-of-way impact due to the ongoing project since it has been paused. However, we do have a very robust right-of-way acquisition program we have a lot of different brochures and guidelines. If anyone interested, you're welcome to send me an email and I can forward those documents for you to be familiar with the FDOT acquisition process.
Okay, Mo, is there anybody else who would like to provide a virtual written comment or question?
Not at this moment, no.
Okay, again, I will stay here until 7 o'clock. And if you have any additional questions, please feel free to come and ask.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah.
Okay.
We do have a new question. They are still a little unclear as to why the project was paused, and can they get a little bit more clarification?
So FDOT recently has done a economic evaluation, and based on the outcome of the evaluation analysis and also considering the funding availability, DOT decided to introduce a new rehabilitation project before the replacement can be resumed in the future. And at this time, the rehab for Long Key, in terms of design, is anticipated to begin in 2030 and 2028. And for 7 Mile, it's 2029.
We have another question. It's two questions. What was the FDOT study slash methodology that recommended the replacement of both bridges? And why did this recommendation change to a rehabilitation?
So, okay, so let me explain that. The initiation of these PD&E projects were after a life cycle cost analysis was performed, and we evaluated how much rehabilitation costs we're investing on the bridges, right? And how often we do that as compared to a replacement. So the recommendation was to replace the bridges. So it's an economic replacement. While we were planning and we were studying our PD&E, going through our PD&E studies, as it was explained in the presentation, cost increases, replacement cost increases, the type of typical section analyzed increase also the cost of the new bridges for those alternatives. So at that point is what was explained during the presentation, that DOT came and did an economy analysis to see if we could introduce another cycle of rehabilitation, which will provide us additional service life, and then we can continue the full replacement or the full PD&E project in the future. So the reason is it was introduced that if we do another rehabilitation, what that rehabilitation will be, and if that's gonna give us additional time to get to that replacement year. Unfortunately, as it was said, we have target year for replacement, but it's not in the work program yet, right? So we can say 100% sure it's this year, but eventually as we continue with the rehabilitation, then we can provide that plan to the public. So I hope that address the reasons for our decision to replace the bridges, which was an economic evaluation through the life cycle cost analysis. And then the reason why we're not suspending the project, we're not eliminating the project, we're just pausing the project and introducing the rehab, and then we will continue in the near future with the PD&E phase of the replacement projects.
Okay, we have another question of how many years will the rehabilitation provide to the bridges before replacement?
So we have tentatively, we have a target to start long key replacements in the late 30s. And for 7 Mile in the early 50s, 2050s, 2030s, 2040s. So that means our next rehabilitation projects would target those end of construction of the new bridges.
Yeah, go right ahead.
I'd like to go to another element, which is the State Road 5 Long Key Bridge Advanced Environmental Mitigation. We're talking about a lot of money there, 13 million in 27 fiscal year and 25 point something million in 2030. This is as of the 9 April 2025 report. If you go to the schedule, you find out that DOT has done not much with it because there's no schedule. Can we determine whether this 13 and 25 plus million is something that shouldn't have to be done? It uses the word environmental mitigation.
We can provide a more definitive answer to your question, but these are plans to start working towards mitigation that will be required from the environmental point of view on the rehabilitation projects that we're planning, that we have planned, and as well as the replacement, getting ready for the replacement of the bridge in the future. So it's a long plan. Those amounts that you're mentioning are divided between different years. And there is a plan to meet the mitigation requirements for the future.
Well, it seems to me that 38 million plus dollars could be reprogrammed into State Road 5 improvements up and down Monroe County, or completing other bridge rehabilitation work. So if you want to keep it in bridges, but I would want that added into more work for you when you go back to Miami.
Thank you.
We do have another question asking for confirmation that based on what they've heard today, that the 7 Mile Bridge won't be replaced until the 2050.
Again, this is not on the work program yet. That's a target, but it cannot be confirmed at this time.
We don't have a date for the 7 Mile Bridge replacement.
I don't have that answer right now, because they all fell off, but it was about like 50.
Okay, so we had a good.
Mhm. We have a new question of, did the synchronized timing of the proposed bridge replacements generate the funding shortfalls? And if so, will the rehab projects be designed to desynchronize the replacements so that they don't occur in mostly the same fiscal years?
Each project is analyzed independently. No, because we have the two projects close to each other. So each project is analyzed independently, and that's why there is different timing for each project as well.
If you have another question.
Gerald Ward, no, I don't have a question. I just think it's for comprehensive meeting. The meeting virtual attendee and speaker just said that we had as many as 50 virtual attendees. So even though we had 13 here to start with in person, there are a lot of people in Monroe County extremely interested in this, and we've got to do the communication a little bit better.
We do have a question following the one of we don't of the 2050 question, asking, when do you think the Long Key project would start?
We don't have a date for Long Key either.
DOT will continue doing economic evaluation and bridge inspection as needed throughout of the years. So in the future, when new inspection or economic evaluation comes into the near future, we will determine at that time to understand better how the new bridge or how the bridge rehab will perform, so that we can determine a replacement being resumed. But at this time, we don't have that information, as we anticipate a new rehabilitation is being taken into place.
Okay, and just to make sure we're addressing the correct project, when is the bridge rehabilitation starting?
If you can provide the slide that has that information.
Which one? The one showing the schedule for the rehab?
So the rehab design for Long Key is anticipated to begin in 2028. The rehab construction for Long Key is anticipated to start in 2030.
Okay, we still have a few minutes left. If you have any additional comments or questions, please send them in, or those who are still remaining here in person, please come up to the microphone.
Maybe we bring the microphone.
I was
closer
gonna
to
say,
you.
do you want me to bring the microphone over? It might be easier.
We have a new question asking what the Long Key rehab will entail in 2028. Is that widening, sidewalks? What all encompasses the rehab?
The scope, the original scope right now, as you can see on the screen, we are maintaining what is existing. We're not doing any widenings of the bridges to provide any new standards. So we're keeping the footprint of what we have there. So we're rehabilitating the deck, the superstructure, which is the beams, the box beams, and then the columns. All that is being repaired, some elements replaced, and that's the scope of the work. We introducing cathodic protection, which is repairs of the corroded steel that may happen, and applying a cathodic protection system, which will prevent corrosion to reoccur in the same locations. So that's the scope. The scope will be refined as we go into design as well, to introduce additional items based on engineering judgment, what needs to be done to preserve the bridge until the new bridges are completed.
So while we do still have a few minutes left to answer your questions here in person, just want to remind everybody to please visit the project websites, and if you have any additional questions after the meeting, to submit comments to the project managers regarding any concerns that you have. We do still have a few minutes left to answer any questions that you may have.
So this question reads, given that rehab designs haven't started, does FDOT have any anticipated rehab construction durations for how long bridge travelers should expect travel limitations?
So we haven't started design. There is a small rehab project that we consider now finishing design. However, like any of the previous rehabilitation project we've done, we limit the impacts to traffic. So we don't expect any major impacts. And if we do lane closures or bridge closures, those are planned during design to be done at night and reduce the impact to traffic. So our plan is to keep our same process of reducing as much as possible any impacts to the public.
Okay, and someone wants confirmation that the tentative start for the bridge rehab for Long Key is 2030, correct?
For Long Key, yes. For construction.
Okay.
Construction rehab for Long Key, 2030, and for 7 Mile, 2032.
Okay.
Keep in mind, just a clarification, 7 Mile will have a smaller rehabilitation in December of 2025. And then there'll be a major rehab. That's the one shown on the slide here.
Okay. And then will improvements be done during season or off season?
Well, it seems that in the case we don't have off season, right? We have tourists all year round. We continue to do our projects the same way we've been doing it. We have projects going on now and public doesn't notice it because most of the rehab projects, we are doing it under the bridge, right? So we don't expect any major impacts to the public, to residents, or to visitors, to the keys.
And Vero, if you can please recap again where this presentation will be available for all attendees.
Absolutely. Here's the contact information for both projects as well as the contact information for the rehabilitation project.
And the presentation, the recorded presentation will be available on the website, correct?
Correct. The website, the recording will be posted on both Long Key and 7 Mile Bridge websites and on the Monroe County MCTV broadcasting.
Okay, we have another question asking about what the projected start date would be if there was a new bridge constructed for Long Key Bridge, if we could recap that one again.
We don't have a date yet. As we progress in our planning, once we have a specific year to start construction on the replacement of Long Key or 7 Mile, then we will provide that to the public. We'll share that with the public. But at this time, we don't have anything that has been programmed. So as soon as we get confirmation of the years that they can be programmed, then we will share that with the public.
Okay. Any more comments from anybody here in person? No? Okay. And Mo, we don't have any other additional comments? Okay. So if there's any additional comments, please submit them to the project PMs through the website. And on behalf of the Florida Department of Transportation and our presenters, thank you for joining us tonight and have a good evening.